Great, so welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about governance today in the context of some really interesting financial services architecture and use cases at Navy Federal. To introduce myself, I'm Ricardo Portilla, Field CTO for Financial Services at Databricks. I came from FINRA, so a regulator here in the US that does securities regulation and financial fraud, and have been at Databricks for 7 years. So I've kind of seen the evolution of a lot of our longstanding customers like Navy Federal. And also I'm an open source creator, so worked on a lot of time series functionality. It's been useful in manufacturing, financial services as well, and have spent basically 15 years in the financial services space. So really excited to partner here with KK and talk about some of the architecture.
Hey, my name is Krishna Kumar Subramanian, AVP, Data Analytics Engineering, Navy Federal.
So to just set a little bit of context, we are going to be talking about Unity Catalog today, but kind of putting the Databricks product names aside, I wanted to just provide a view in terms of kind of what the landscape looks like in terms of the data sources that we are typically ingesting as part of financial services, cross-sell use cases, personalization use cases, lead management. And if you look at in the far right, these are all the use cases that the banks that we work with and credit unions across mid-sized credit unions to very large global credit unions. This is what they want to enable at the end of the day, right? So they want to create propensity scoring for, let's say, home lending use cases. They want to cross-sell across credit card, payments, and again, the loan origination use cases. They want to target churn risks, right? And they need a consistent way to apply data quality. They want to cross-sell customers. They want to reduce cost of acquisition for customers. So this is kind of where everybody is trying to get to. And a lot of the challenge with these use cases is the data is completely spread out across on-prem data sources. So think your kind of legacy data warehouses, Oracle, Netezza, Teradata. And then you've got a lot of cloud data sources that are also spread out. And on top of that, you've typically got a lot of specialized APIs that you may be also needing to access. Right? These could be pricing APIs for valuation. They could be content delivery networks to understand API log usage, for example. They could be clickstream data and pulling all of that semi-structured data centrally into a lakehouse. So there's lots of different considerations here. And I present this slide because in financial services, what we tend to see is a lot of AI use cases kind of is almost a top-down approach. So start with your modeling framework, start with a featured data set, and really what makes a lot of the financial services customers successful that we've seen is really starting with data quality, protecting the data where it lives in the data lake, governance across all the different sources. How do you share data across your different silos within the enterprise? That could mean marketing, risk, treasury, all these different components. And then how do you create a common semantic layer or library of feature functions, which I kind of have above that. So only when you get to this point do we see a lot of the success within use cases in financial services. So it's really a bottoms-up approach of focusing on the data. We heard this from Jamie Dimon this morning as well, right? Kind of focusing on the data layer and then really building a lot of the reusability on top of that. This is kind of the key to success. So you've heard about Unity Catalog a ton. I think it's in every other sentence probably as we talk about different Databricks products. And the reason that it comes up so often is a lot of our customers who are coming from, let's say, on-prem data management, you have this idea of operational catalog. And what I mean by that is if you look at this red slice, a lot of the focus is on data discoverability. It's focused on access control. So how do we do things like role-based access control across our data sources and auditing? But as you think about expanding across all these different use cases that we talked about, machine learning use cases, kind of BI use case, generative AI analyst use cases, you need to think about these broader, different, what we call securables. So things like your AI models, right? How do you share those? How do you govern those? How do you govern highly unstructured data, everything from a PDF file to a raw binary file, a model, right, into zip files? How do you govern things like notebooks, right, and make sure that you're handling fine-grained access control across a lot of that IP that you may have? And lastly, Ali referenced this morning a lot of the dashboards, right? How do you govern access to even across different regions. If you're a global institution, how do you apply row filters that apply per region? And how do you restrict what columns, maybe even mask columns, as you think about sharing data across the enterprise in a secure way? So these are all the considerations. You'll see things like clean rooms that are also built on top of Unity Catalog and a lot of this technology. But now, Keki's going to go through really specifics of what does this really mean in the context of maybe Federal's architecture as well.
Hey, thanks, Ricardo. So setting the context. So for those of you who don't know, Navy Federal is the world's largest credit union, and we serve more than 14 million members. We have $180 billion in assets, and we serve our members through 360 plus branches worldwide. We offer world-class financial product and services to armed forces, Department of Defense, veterans, and their families. Our vision is to be the most preferred and trusted financial institution serving the military and their families. Our technology strategy is based on 7 key pillars, and one of them is data-driven. It means the data must be comprehensive, reliable, and accessible, rich data assets describing critical business domains, a centralized data platform, secure data consumption by users, centralized data operations, and generative AI to solve business problems. We have been successful using the high-quality, well-organized data for scalable, accurate, and impactful analytics and AI. Our data-driven culture helps us to harness the power of data to unlock the valuable insights into our members, drive strategic growth, and member satisfaction. We started the cloud data modernization journey to establish a centralized enterprise data ecosystem. The journey started 6+ years ago. We built a data lake, data hub, and an analytic semantic layer to bring the business-ready data sets to our data consumers. Today, we have more than 160 machine learning models and insights deployed in production, and we do have a robust operating models for our MLOps. As we progressed over the years, we decommissioned 2 enterprise-grade data stores from on-prem, a data lake and an integrated data warehouse, and migrated them to cloud. So we are looking forward to continue to use this high-quality, highly trusted data from our ecosystem to enable Gen AI for business use cases. This ecosystem serves business across the bank, like marketing, finance, security, fraud, collections, and so on. Now, I want to double-click on this ecosystem to give you an overview of the underlying data architecture. So we bring data from more than 140 sources, and it's keep growing on a monthly basis. The data comes from our core banking platform, various business applications, third-party data sources, and social media. So today, we have more than 1,000 data pipelines that ingest the data in batches, micro batches, real-time, and near real-time. There are 2 enterprise-grade data stores are available as part of this ecosystem, a cloud data warehouse that houses the business-ready data, and a data hub that acts as a data virtualization layer to bring the operational data to our consumers. The data is accessed in a variety of ways from the platform. The users use Databricks Notebook, SQL Endpoint, Azure Data Studio for ad hoc analytics. The consumers who want to access the operational data use APIs to access the data from the data hub. There are hundreds of reports and dashboards built on Power BI and Tableau that access the business-ready data from the cloud data warehouse. When it comes to the lake, we have 3 zones: the land, integrate, and curate, that corresponds to the bronze, silver, and gold zones in the medallion architecture. In addition, the data lake also houses business-ready data in Delta format, which is an exact replica of the data in the cloud data warehouse. As we bring the data to the lake, we collect the metadata, we run data quality check, we catalog the data, and the access control follows our enterprise security guidelines and standards. Data sharing is a crucial aspect of our digital transformation and data modernization journey. When we started sharing data from the data ecosystem, we wanted to address data ownership, data quality, data privacy, and security. There are 5 types of data that we share from our enterprise ecosystem. The curated data, which is the data used for analytics. Business-ready data, that's the data used for reports and dashboarding. Machine learning output, insights, and feature store. The top challenges that we encountered as we started sharing the data is access control was set at the data lake storage level, which resulted in over-provisioning of access. We ended up granting access to unwanted data sets to the business users. Limited data governance within the data lake, and duplicate data across the data lakes, which resulted in data ownership issues and data quality challenges. The proposed solution included enabling role-based access control for every data assets in the lake, implement principle of least privilege, which is a policy followed within our organization to ensure that our data consumers get access only to the required data set, a uniform governance, and enhanced metadata collection. Ingest the data once and then securely share the data across the enterprise. After an initial assessment and completing a proof of concept in collaboration with our Databricks partners, we concluded that we need to enable Unity Catalog to implement the proposed solution. The implementation approach included enabling role-based access across our SDLC environment. So we have 4 environments: development, integration testing, user acceptance testing, and production. Enable role-based access control for the data ready for consumption, both the curated data and the business-ready data. A unified framework to access data from any zones of the lake. Data security, we have 2 categories of data: sensitive data and non-sensitive data. We wanted to ensure that we provide strict access control while accessing sensitive data set. Shared responsibility across various teams to create and manage Unity Catalog. And finally, a solid operating model that encompasses the various stakeholders to manage and sustain access control in a self-serviced fashion. The main theme that we wanted to implement was minimize business impact, because the ecosystem has 2 critical data sets: the business-ready data and the curated data, which are used for day-to-day analytics by business units across the bank. So how did we enable access control across various zones of the lake? So we designed 2 types of catalogs: a data engineering catalog and a data distribution catalog. So the data engineering catalogs have the data from the landing and the integrated zones of the lake, configurations used by the data pipelines, and the reference data used by the data pipelines. The main consumers are the data engineers and the data pipelines. The data distribution catalogs have the curated data, the business-ready data, and machine learning output, and the main consumers are the data scientists, business analysts, machine learning engineers, and the applications that want to consume the business-ready data directly from the lake. So this is how we enable role-based access across the medallion architecture. So we encountered an interesting problem while designing a unified framework for data access. So we have the cloud data warehouse that has both sensitive and non-sensitive data set. The non-sensitive data sets are stored in generic schema, and the sensitive data sets are stored in their own respective restricted schema. The roles are created and maintained within the warehouse, and the access is provisioned using personas. Personas are Azure Active Directory groups. And if a user wants to get access to certain data sets, they need to identify the right persona and then submit a ticket to get added to the persona, and the personas are attached to the roles, and that's how the access control flows. So our challenge was we wanted to replicate the same design with the Unity catalog while accessing the data from the curated zone of the lake. So we designed two types of catalogs, the business-ready catalog, and under the business-ready catalog, a sensitive schema and a non-sensitive schema, which is called, we call it as general purpose and restricted schemas. The access controls are at the schema level, not at the table level. And we use the same persona. We attach the same persona to the ACLs. So this ensures that we have a universal persona to access the data from the lake or from the data warehouse. So the persona is the core of our access management. There are 4 types of persona that we have: business user, business analyst, engineers, and data scientist. Each business unit has these 4 personas. In addition, business units have a designated lead who owns and manages the persona. For example, a finance business user wants to get access to the finance data sets from the lake. They need to submit a ticket to get added to the finance business user persona, and the finance lead who owns that persona grant the access. So that's how we have enabled a self-service mechanism to get access to the data from the data lake. Now, I want to show you an example of one of the catalog that we have deployed in production. So the ASL Gen Prod, which is the analytic semantic layer general purpose catalog, which means this catalog has non-sensitive data set. Anybody can access this, get a read-only access to the data from this catalog. So you see a schema there. Hope you can read it, ASL, and a list of views registered in that schema. On the right-hand side top, you can see a select privilege attached to the schema, and at the bottom, right-hand side bottom, you see a number of personas that are attached to the ACL. So if a user get added to any one of those personas, they get access to the views under ASL schema, and it's a read-only access, and this is how we are managing access to the business-ready data sets from the lake. Now, another challenge that we encountered was duplicate data sets across data lakes, which resulted in data ownership issues and data quality challenges. So I want to illustrate this with an example. So we have two teams, an enterprise data team and a business unit data team. The enterprise data team owns the data sets in the enterprise data lake, and the business unit team owns the data in the business unit data lake. And each team have their own data engineering workspaces to operate on their respective data lakes. The user management and compute are all confined within their respective workspaces. So in this example, the enterprise data lake has 3 data sets 1, 2, and 3, and the business unit data lake has 2 data sets 1 and 4. So the question is, who owns data sets 1? So this is the challenge that we had. So let us say that the enterprise data team owns data sets 1. How the enterprise data team can ensure or control who accesses data sets 1 from the business unit data lake? That's not possible because they have no control. How the enterprise data team can ensure that the same data quality rules are applied when the data sets 1 is ingested into both data lakes? It's difficult. So we solved this problem with the Unity catalog. So on the right hand side, you see the design with the Unity catalog. We still have 2 Databricks workspaces and 2 data lakes. In the middle, we have 2 catalogs, an enterprise catalog and a business unit catalog. The data assets 1, 2, and 3 are registered in one of the schemas in the enterprise catalog, and data assets 4 is registered in the business unit catalog. So you see a difference when it comes to the data lake. The data assets 1 is now missing from the business unit data lake because the enterprise data team owns that data asset. So if the business unit want to get a read-only access to data assets 1, the enterprise team can grant the access at the schema level or at the table level. So this is how we ensure that there is a single ownership when it comes to the data on cloud, and the data quality rules are consistently applied as we bring data to cloud. So another decision point was external versus managed tables. So you might have attended various sessions yesterday and today. Databricks recommends using managed table to take full advantage of the optimization offered. So why did we choose external tables? For 3 reasons. We have been testing, designing, prototyping, and now very close to implementing data lifecycle management for the data in the data lake. And we need to do that to adhere to the record information management policy of our organization to be in compliance. We are not sure at this point managed table will fit into that design. 2, we want to share data across platforms that cannot be integrated with Unity catalog. And the 3rd reason is the Unity catalog adoption is still work in progress, and we still have Databricks workspaces not fully integrated with Unity catalog. So it's a phased implementation. So we hope at some time in future, when we fully adopt Unity catalog, we will be able to convert all the external tables to managed tables. Another important aspect of our data sharing strategy is to bring the machine learning output to our business partners. So here is an overview of the process that we follow to bring the ML output to our channel partners. So we have a federated environment. Several business units have their own data science team, and they follow the recommended practices from our center of excellence, build the models, test the models, and work with the model risk management team to get the model reviewed and approved. When they are ready to hand off the model to the MLOps team, they submit an intake form. The MLOps team follows their operating model to bring the model to production and start monitoring and governing it. The model output is returned to the curated zone of the lake. We also ingest the model output to two data stores, the data hub and a SQL database. So the channel partners who want to consume the model output via APIs access the model output from the data hub. The channel partners who want to consume the model output in bulk, like they want to do a bulk extract, access this model output from the SQL database and then feed into their ETL process. So we have two provisioning points for model output, the data hub and the SQL database. Now we have introduced a third provisioning point with the help of Unity Catalog. So we have this data distribution catalogs that have all the curated data registered in it. The data scientists and MLOps engineers can access the data using that catalogs to train the models, and model outputs are written to the curated zones and registered in model output catalogs. So once the model outputs are registered there, the data analyst, data scientist, or channel partners can now access them directly from the lake. The only thing they need is a compute, and in our case, we use SQL Warehouse as a compute for accessing model output. So this opens up a third provisioning point and an optimized way to access this model output from the lake if the channel partners want to do a bulk extract. So how we bring everything together? So there are various teams involved in creating and managing Unity Catalog. So the data engineering team, they own the data engineering and the data distribution catalogs. The MLOps team, they own the ML output catalogs. So we have three horizontal teams. The CloudOps team, they play the role of Databricks admin, Metastore admin, and Workspace admin. DevSecureOps, they own the pipeline that deploys and manages Unity Catalog, and the ServiceNow owns the ticketing process. The business units, they own the persona, and the data governance team, they approve any new persona that to be created. So for example, if you want to bring a new data set to the ecosystem and that requires a new persona to be created, the business unit first submit a request to the enterprise data governance team to get the persona approved. Once the persona approved, they work with the CloudOps team to create the persona and set up the access control. Once both those tasks are completed, then the business unit need to work with the ServiceNow team to add the persona to the ServiceNow catalog. That ensures that when the user want to get access to the data set, they see the persona in the appropriate ServiceNow catalog. So this ensures that we are able to sustain access control management in a self-service fashion across our data ecosystem. To summarize, our adoption of Unity Catalog is in progress. We have seen benefits like a unified access management and efficiency gains. Our long-term vision is to integrate Unity Catalog with our enterprise data catalog tool so we can see all the metadata from a single tool. The concept of data products has gathered some momentum within our organization, and we want to use Unity Catalog to share data products and manage data products catalogs. We have definitely seen some efficiency gains with Unity Catalog, and we want to use the system schema tables to bring transparency on the Databricks platform usage and cost to our data engineering and data science community. The enhanced metadata collection made possible by Unity Catalog will help us to enable features like AI Assistant, Intelligent Search, and Genie. So this concludes our presentation, and I hope the tips and techniques that we learned from our adoption of Unity Catalog will help in your journey as well. If you have any questions, let us know.